Hello. Welcome back to Trading Triangle. Once again, it is me and Kaye on this fine Sunday, the 8th of June. How you doing, Kaye?
I'm doing great. Happy Sunday to all the viewers. Hope everybody's having a blast today.
Yeah, it's nice and sunny here in the UK, which is a rarity. What's it like over there? Is it nice and sunny there?
It's cloudy, but it's warm, so you see a lot of people out and about doing things. So it's getting warm here, so it's good. I
Awesome.
like it.
Summer is approaching. That's good. People like that. People smile when it's summer. I know I do, at least. Obviously, we're just a couple of guys on the internet looking at charts, giving our perspectives on certain things. So it's not financial advice. It's just something we like to do week in, week out, and we do it every Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern. So if you're new to this, then obviously keep a track on that time. Obviously, you can watch it in the post as well if you subscribe to Trading Triangle on YouTube. Massive thank you to Wolf as well for letting us use the platform. We really appreciate it. We couldn't do without you. And I think the last thing I'm going to mention is obviously audience requests. We get them every week. I'll stick a banner up on the screen so people can see what we're kind of looking at here. So any comments section in the YouTube, obviously, and the X as well, stick it in the comment section and we can get to it a little bit later on. We'll go through our normal bits, we go through earnings, the news, and obviously our own picks of the week as well. So obviously it'll be about 15-20 minutes and then we'll get into your requests as well. Should we jump into the slideshow, okay?
Let's do it.
Awesome. Here we go. June the 9th already. Fantastic. Let's jump into it. So last week's performance, we actually don't have the biggest one. We've got Tesla behind you. And we might just change the view just so people can see there. We'll start with Tesla down there. Obviously, big drama with Elon and Donald Trump kind of falling out. I'm sure we'll have a few words on that today's session. It's going to be an interesting one. Minus 17% as a result of that so far. On the bigger side of things, we've got Microsoft, Nvidia, Apple, Google, and Amazon all floating around 2 to 4% upwards, which felt a bit modest actually, given the week. I thought it actually would have been a bit higher than that. Perhaps Meta was bringing up the S&P and the QQQ instead.
Why do you know why Meta was up this much? What happened with Meta? Was there
I
something?
think it was a purely technical thing. It looks like it was kind of a bull flag and it just popped out of the bull flag. People got excited and kind of ran with it. Maybe there was news attached to it, but I'm not too sure personally if there was or not. Do you want to have a little word on the kind of the names on here?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think the talk of the town is very clear. Tesla.
Yes.
We have a big event coming up next week for Tesla. On top of it, it was definitely not the. I mean, you could say you got publicity, but I don't think Tesla needs publicity. Elon doesn't need publicity. He's a walking, talking billboard.
He is now.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the greatest move he has pulled off right before an event. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a big fan of. I mean, and I posted some of my thoughts. Like, if it was any other CEO of any other company, they would have fired him long time back.
You reckon? Or was it just because it's him?
It's just because of him. See, it's because if you think about it, maybe they are not Tesla fanboys. Maybe they are Elon fanboys.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's part of it, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, I guess the drama will continue to unfold, and I think we've got that in the next slide. If not the one after, I'm not too sure. I can't remember. There we go. On this slide, obviously, all week Trump Musk drama. Greed is sitting. Well, we're sitting on the greed, fear and greed index at 63.
It's flat.
It's flat from the week before, flat from the week before that. So we are, but at the same time, the spine QQQ is slowly grinding up. So there could be a little bit more euphoria to be had. Dare I say it? Or there could be downside. But I mean, we've spoken a couple of weeks now for that downside. But I do think we can go even higher and actually break all-time highs, even with this drama. Do you want to speak to the rest of the news here on the left side?
Well, if you take a look at it, right? I mean, that makes a lot more sense. Put to call has been flat. It was 0.71 last week. It is 0.71 this week as well. So 2 weeks in a row, it's been flat. The week prior was, I think, 0.69 or 0.6, something like that. So pretty much it's been flat. Wix has dropped to 16.77. Like, we haven't seen Wix dropping this low in a long time. Now, we don't know what next week is going to be because CPI PPI comes out. We will see that. We also have Apple's event. I think I did post it here, but I don't expect anything miraculous over here from Apple. It's just going to be the same old stuff coming out. It's probably the September event we would be looking forward to and see, if the features in the phone are worth something, and you'll have Dan Ives and Gene Munster from CNBC continue parading how great Apple is going to be and all that stuff. But in reality, Apple hasn't delivered anything. But I have been saying this from a long time now. SPY, as you can see, was pretty flat for the week. QQQ, the same thing. And that's the reason why, even though Meta ran up so much, I thought, like, what happened? The stock has been pretty, and the index has been pretty flat, like up for a percentage for the week or down. Like, it's been, nothing has moved, actually. We've been in this limbo for a while now.
It has, yeah. It's been a strange week because it's felt very green, but on the numbers we've just gone over there on the last slide, and obviously this slide as well, it's not actually that green. So perhaps there's
And also,
something
if you think from SPY standpoint, right, your all-time high was 611, and you are sitting at almost 600, right? You're like below like 2%.
Yeah, that's a strange one. Yeah, but we've got the Apple. What I was going to ask was a question. The options tomorrow for Apple, how will they react to the kind of the event? Would it be worth going into them at all, or not so much?
I mean, I mean, if the IV is not going to go up that much for this, unless maybe for the September event might be a different case if they were planning to announce some kind of a crazy product. This is more like a developer event, so we may see the IV going up or down during the event. It's not like the biggest event for Apple. This is like a standard yearly event, but there's no product launches. There's more talking about what features are going to come out, what the technology is going to be. Unless they really blow you out of the proportion, right? The news comes out that nobody knows about it. I don't see
No.
anything changing. By the way, I did talk about Apple. We actually have an open Apple trade. If it chops like this, hey, the trade will expire with full profit.
Awesome. That's good to know. Good trades is what we like, definitely, for sure. We'll move on to the earnings then for this week coming up. We've got GitLab here on Tuesday, which you have the chart for this week. But apart from that, I mean, you've got Oracle and Adobe, but not really much else, is there?
Well, you have
Definitely coming
GameStop,
towards the end.
the king of meme stocks, right?
King of meme stocks. So to be fair, I think that's kind of a bit over now, isn't it? I've not seen them kind of
I
move
heard
for a
the
while.
latest news a couple weeks back that Roaring Kitty was back on Reddit, but yeah, I think that has died down.
Definitely, for sure. And it's probably for the best as well. A lot of people got
I
hurt
don't know,
with a
man.
lot
We
of
did not
movement.
become a millionaire by buying AMC and GME, so that's
No.
that.
Few people did, but not everyone. A lot of people lost a lot of money, and that's a shame. But
How
yeah, not
about
really much to
Chewy?
say.
If you
Sorry?
remember, Chewy was also a meme stock.
It was, yeah. Then they're reporting earnings on Wednesday before it opens, so you never know. They could spark something new as well. It's the week of meme earnings by the looks of it. All we need now is AMC to pop up, but that's not going to happen. But yeah, apart from Oracle and Adobe and GitLab, anything else are you looking for here, or just we're moving on?
No, it's I think we are at the tail end. It's pretty much a wrap from an earnings standpoint.
Yeah, I'll be back sooner than you think, though, won't it?
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit about trades now. Obviously, we have last week. I picked Nvidia, and we've added this to the slide as a bit of fun because it is a bit of fun. Let me take that off the screen so we can get powered by Wolf there. Nvidia was up 4.83%, and Lulu, unfortunately, they missed earnings on Thursday after the close. Do you have any information on that earnings?
Yeah, it was soft growth. So what generally happens is that in Lululemon world or any of the retail world, right? Consumers are these stocks or these companies, they can give you a very good insight on the mindset of the consumers, right? Because they can see through what's going on. I mean, economy is not doing as great as people might say, right? And you still have tariff wars on your head. Nothing has been resolved so far. Um, Inflation is kind of sticky, not sticky. Mortgage rates are up. So if people are being more conservative, they're not going to go and spend more on let's say luxury products. If you consider Lululemon as a luxury brand, which
Yeah,
is, it's kind of right,
it's pricey enough to be.
it's pricey enough. So let's say if they were, let's say before they, you would go buy I don't know, one t-shirt a month, for example. Now you may not want to buy one t-shirt a month. You might want to buy just one t-shirt in 6 months, right? That's a problem. So because we have a softer guidance on Lulu, that's the reason we saw it basically crash. But if you go back and look at Lulu's history, you always have these gap ups and gap downs.
Yeah, it's just part of the stock movement, isn't it?
Exactly.
The kind of guidance, I guess, flows through the market, and it's a strange one to kind of predict. And I guess that's where you get the vicious moves that you see in
Exactly.
the market. But going back to obviously the picks, obviously I am winning 11-1, but Kaye did mention to me before the stream that actually he did short Apple a couple of times at the beginning, so I've got to change a couple of things. So it's looking more like maybe 8-3 or something like that, or 4. I don't know what the maths is on that, 9-3, 9-3, something like that. So I'm still winning, but I'll get that changed for you next week. Don't worry, Kaye.
That's okay. It's fine. Let's move on.
As always, you can find us on Twitter, respectively, and YouTube, respectively, with the handles you can see on the screen there. We'll talk a little bit more about what we're offering a little bit later on. But first, before that, we're going to jump into the first chart of the day, and it's the SPY chart. This is the daily chart. Before I miss you, obviously, Sunil has also brought up ADBE. We'll go through that chart a little bit later on. We'll add it to the requests. And before we jump into that, obviously, if you are watching this and you do want a ticker to be looked at, whether it be one of your favorite tickers or one that you're not quite sure about, stick it in the comments and we'll take a look at it, give our perspectives, and perhaps give a little bit of guidance on what we feel might happen to the stock potentially. But of course, it's not financial advice, it's a little bit of fun. But yeah, go ahead and do that. So SPY, we do have this gap, which we've left drawn on there for about 3 or 4 weeks now. It's just not really seemed to be going there, at least not just yet. I mentioned last week we do have a bit of volume profile on the right side, and since then we have kind of pushed off of that and made a move higher. I personally do see all-time highs here on the SPY and the QQQ, not relatively shortly. I just think we just continue grinding up. What happens at this level is a very different question. We could blow straight through it and have a little bit of euphoria, go to extreme greed on the fear and greed index, which is very, very possible, or we can break this trend line which we've drawn and revisit this gap fill. I'm happy either way. I just want it to kind of pick a direction and kind of go in it. What are your thoughts on the SPY, Kaye?
I mean, that is a doji candle, which kind of tells you that the market is unsure which direction they need to go. So the PPI, CPI numbers that are going to come out may give us some kind of a direction. I don't know if we will actually get any, but we may get it, and then the routine continues. You'll have Powell come out, FOMC meeting will happen. They will make a decision whether they are going for a rate cut or not. In any case, I think you need some kind of a catalyst. Even if we hit like an all-time high, let's say 1.9% away from all-time high, even if it hits it, what are the overhangs we have? There hasn't been a single trade deal yet. So maybe a trade deal gets announced and then people, say, okay, off to the winds, right? Off to the races.
Yeah.
But until that happens, I mean, SPY is already at, on the RSI, it is 65. It's almost near overbought. So I could see it chopping again this entire week as the CPI PPI comes out. Maybe a down a percentage here and there, but really, I don't see any major declines. I don't think we'll go back and visit those lows of 481. I think that was a great buying opportunity. But I still think that gap fill will happen at some point in time, which is the 570 to the 575. I think that is on the chart.
We've got Neurofinance as well, has the same sort of idea with the 570 gap. We do actually have a meeting, I believe, in London tomorrow between US officials and China to talk about the kind of tariffs and stuff. So that will probably move the market before it's even open tomorrow. So just watch out for that if you are trading around that. And of course, you did mention CPI and PPI, which I think is Wednesday, Thursday, respectively.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a choppy week, obviously, with the Trump and Elon drama as well. So just be careful when you're trading out there this week. It's going to be a choppy one. But we like that as traders, especially for day trading. It's tricky, but it's possible. Just have your risk management and watch out for those opportunities when they come. Moving on to the QQQ then, much the same. We've got the gap down below. Not going to add too much, but I do still think we grind towards the kind of all-time highs personally, just because I've got all this volume below and it's reacting really nicely off of that level so far. And of course, people have different opinions, but that's my opinion. That's my kind of thoughts on the market. And Kaye, you touch on this one at all?
I think the same thing. We can move on to the same.
Yeah, we'll move on. We've actually added a slide this week. I've added the IWM, which is the Russell 2000 small cap index, pretty much. And it's interesting to see that we've got this head and shoulders form. Yes, it's a little bit skewed, but the head and shoulders doesn't always have to be perfect. But you can see the shape there, which I've drawn. Obviously, I've drawn a bit of a line, kind of where the first shoulder would be, the second shoulder, and of course the head down here. And the neckline is this grey kind of trend line flowing through the screen here. We've also got the green line, which is the 200 moving average, which is an important one, obviously, within the indices as well, at least in my opinion. But just breaking above that, we've had a really nice break on Friday. I think we come back down and retest it, maybe 208, 209, something around there, maybe 207 if we get a little bit, aggressive, punch down perhaps. What I'll be looking for, though, is a bit of a stability around that area and push up towards kind of 220, 228, that kind of area, obviously where the kind of previous resistance is. Do you trade small caps? I know you trade small caps as a stocks, but do you ever trade the indices?
I actually was building out a long-term position on IWM back when it was in the 200 range, like 198. Then I kind of realized that I don't enjoy doing that much, so I exited the position from small caps and I put everything back into the SPY and QQQ.
And I think that's a great lesson, because if you're not comfortable in an asset, you're not comfortable in picking a certain stock, you think it's too risky, or it's not an industry that you particularly like or enjoy. I know it's not the case for you so much here, Kaye, but it's more of a general kind of message for people. Just don't invest in it. If you're not comfortable in investing in that sort of area, that kind of asset, the volatility perhaps, just don't invest in that. Would you agree with that, Kaye?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think what ends up happening is, and you will hear this from many people actually. We tend to see these new shiny toys every time you'll hear a new ticker, and you'll just run after that ticker. But you actually don't have to. You should have your core group of stocks. And I forget who mentioned this. This is a long time YouTuber I used to watch in the dividend world. He said, these are my ride or die stocks, right? So that stuck with me for a while. I think that there's a core group of stocks that, whether it's index funds like, SPY, QQQ, whatever your core group is. And then maybe you have another layer after that, maybe you have another layer after that. But you cannot track 50 stocks. It's just impossible. And there will always be a new shiny toy on the market. I think I personally am not a big fan of small caps, mid caps, not from a trading standpoint, from an investing standpoint. So I don't want to waste my time, effort on those. I just stick with the big caps, the mega caps, or from an investing standpoint, maybe have one or two asymmetrical bets or winners that might look as something that will give us a multi-bagger return down the road. But then that's when you bring the trading aspect into it, that hey, now you can leverage the small caps and mid caps and all the other meme stocks to play the trades and benefit from it. So it's a different mindset. But I agree, I think you should, if it doesn't work in your portfolio, just cut it. Don't waste your time.
Yeah, I think it's managing stress levels. We all like to sleep well at night, don't we? So it's just a case of, if it's making you think a little bit more about trading, obviously trading and investing is stressful enough as it is. So you want to kind of limit that as well. So picking what you like and what you know is always a good start. Before we move on to the individual stock picks of the week, make sure you put your ticker requests in the comments. We've got a couple so far. If we don't get too many, we'll just rattle through some of the bigger names and maybe some more of the popular names. So we won't obviously cut this short. We'll go for the kind of normal 1 hour length-ish. But if you do have any tickers that you want seen, just stick them in the comments. We'll get to them probably in about 4 or 5 minutes, something like that. But yeah, we'll move on to my pick of the week. And my pick of the week is Reddit. Not one I've ever brought up before, and not one I really look at much, to be honest with you, but I do like the chart setup here. I got a comment actually yesterday when I posted this on my X. Obviously, starting up here, the most recent peak back in kind of February time. If we drew a line from there all the way down to here, it looks like we've kind of broken out already. But I like the structure of this more because there's more contact points. I did go back and say this because I wanted to kind of say it on the stream here. But we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, probably maybe 7 contact points on this trend line. Whereas if you drew it from up here, you'd have 1, maybe 2. So obviously, when you're looking at technical analysis, you want the most contact points because it gives you that kind of trend essentially. So what we're seeing here is obviously a big day on Wednesday, straight up, and probably a little bit of news behind that. Didn't actually see, probably should have looked at that. And obviously followed by a bit of a decline on Thursday. Nice support around this 50, 200, and 20 moving average. So there's plenty of support there coupled with the volume profile here on the right side as well. So really good bouts of confluence. What I would like to see on Monday, perhaps tomorrow, is a push up at the beginning of the day, maybe towards kind of 125, and then come back down to kind of 121, 120 level. That would be my kind of entry point, hypothetically. And of course, you can see why I want it to go, and it's kind of 157 level, which would return about 30%, sorry. So there's definitely some things going for Reddit here, and obviously the actual company balance sheet is doing really well. The cash flow, okay, I don't know if you've seen it, but the cash flow in the last 3 quarters has grown massively. So it's interesting to see that. I don't use it personally. I've tried a few times in the last 10 years, but forums are just not for me. I just can't do it. I know X is similar, but it's just not quite the same for me. So I can't get on with the platform personally, but I'm just thinking of this as a trade. I've said a lot of words. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I do use Reddit, and I was just, while you were talking, I was looking at the options chain. So the IV is definitely high on this one, and seems like we did see reduction in the put side. So seems like the calls have really gone up. Um, I don't follow Reddit, but let me see if there is any specific news around Reddit, because that could be the reason why.
Yeah, could be something around there.
So on June 4th, Reddit files a lawsuit against Anthropic over AI training. Well,
Not big news, in my opinion.
not big news. Reddit set to join Russell 3000 index, but that was joining the Russell 3000 index, but that is from May 28th. So I don't know if there is an update on that one. Maybe if that hasn't occurred yet, or maybe if that occurs in the coming week or so, we could see a big jump in the stock price, and that might play out as well. Because that's why the option chain, we see a reduction on the put side, and the calls have gone up crazy. Like especially for next week, the at the money calls are up by 135%.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. No, I'm definitely very excited about this. It's purely a technical play, really, for me personally. Just because what I see on the screen, I see it, and I see lots of contact points, and I get very excited. But yeah, that's my pick of the week. We'll see if I'm successful again this week. Obviously, I had a video last week. We jeweled, and I won that one as well. But yeah, we'll see. We'll move on to your chart of the week then, pick of the week. And what have we got here? Okay.
So this week again, if you notice from the last few weeks, I have been mostly picking stocks that are reporting earnings, and that's why we see those major swings. So GitLab is actually, I'm going to put the trade idea per se on the Substack, but I still want to go through this one so you can kind of understand the context of the trade and how you could play it. So I did draw this blue line, which is basically the implied move. And the reason I did not draw the bottom one is because it's pretty much around the 4086 line, which is around the support level that we have. So they will report earning on Tuesday, which is June 10th. Not currently, but most of the time, 58% of the times, option markets overestimates the move. But the move will be around the 15% plus minus zone. The IV is up as usual, 130%. Generally, these are crazy up. They have not had any misses, unlike a couple of other companies, but they have had like no misses at all. So we expect that it's going to be the same case. If you look at their DCF valuation, it's about $65 is the fair value on the DCF, whereas currently the stock is what, 48 something, right? But there is a technical resistance, because you see that is that a 100-day? Yes, a 100-day and a 200-day point, which is also coming around the same place where generally the implied move would be. So if we see a bump in that, we would probably see a resistance at that level. So we could see a bullish spike after earnings report, but we would see that resistance. I would say the RSI is neutral. MACD is just flipping bullish. You can't see because of our faces there. Volume shelf is sitting nicely at 44, 48. But at this point in time, you could go couple options, right? One is you can play the safe route of any earnings. Could be an iron condor. You can play an iron condor. Or if you think it's going to be bullish, you could play maybe a call credit spread, or a put credit spread, right? You can actually do a put credit spread here. I wouldn't go and buy the call options. Let's see if you can actually. One second. If you buy a call option for next week, you are probably paying a lot, about 127% extra, right? That's the IV right now. So a $49, let's say, a call, you'll have to pay $350, which will take your cost basis to, I guess, 52 and a half. So your break even has to be above 52.
Interesting. Yeah, quite the move. I think for me, it'd be a post-earnings play, if anything. So wait for the earnings to play out. If we can get down below the trend line, as you can see on the screen, if I drew a line here, that would obviously be bearish. Obviously, come back up and retest it at some point. But on the good side, if we can break 56, maybe come up to maybe 60, come back down and retest 56, that would be an ideal entry point for me for kind of future weeks, I guess. I do like your point on the MACD. It's kind of turning around nicely. Perhaps it's not as deep as you might think. So, for example, the red lines, the red bars here are not as deep as I would like them, but it's definitely a turning point for sure. But again, earnings around the corner. It's hard to get in now, at least. But I think you made a good case of the Iron Condor there. I think it's interesting. I'm not too brushed up on that one myself, but I can understand the value on what you might be saying there.
Yeah. So Iron Condor, basically what you will do is you will look at the support level, you will look at the resistance level, you'll basically build those two, I would say the condor, and hope that your price does not go above that. Basically, your price has to stay within that range to make profit. If it goes above that or below that condor, is basically you will lose money.
Interesting. Yeah. So I mean, when's the earnings? Tuesday.
Earning is Tuesday after a close. Yes.
Tuesday after close. I've written it down, and you said the fair value is about 65, isn't it? So
65 is a fair value. You could listen as an option seller. If this is something that you also like to build it in your long term portfolio, you could sell options. There are both criterias, right? You could sell an options 2 weeks out. Let's say you're sending at 42.5, you will get about $1.20 per stock. 100 stock, $120 you'll get. And if the stock runs up closer to the resistance, basically that you will gain that whole 120 within a span of like couple days, because the IV will crush it. You can do it for next week also, but if you do 42, you'll only get $75. So you can still make profit. There are just so many strategies you can play with. Depends on your risk profile.
Awesome. Right, that's the picks of the week. I had Reddit, and you had GitLab. Put in the comments which one you think might win the week. Obviously, we do have a potential earnings winner if GitLab does kind of punch forward. But yeah, we'll see who's victorious next weekend. With that, we'll just turn on to our own projects. Kaye, I'll let you go first while I stick it in the chat with the links.
Absolutely. So I have been very active on Substack. So if you like good analysis on the trades that I propose, you can definitely check it out. Starting this week, I am publishing trade recaps, which means that however the week the trades went, you could see that. That will be available for all viewers, whether you are paid or free, doesn't matter. And I still publish those paid. We still have a paid subscription for the trades. YouTube, it's free. Check it out. What's going on, and X, follow along with the journey. For the commentary.
Awesome. I've just put both links for what we're offering there in the chat as well. Last week it came out 3 times. It's done it again. Never mind.
Yeah.
Well, the links are there. That's good. Looking forward to what's happening with the Apple trade as well.
Yeah, we have Apple trade, and we also did a hood trade. Published it.
Yeah, no, I didn't see it personally, but I kind of have a rough feeling around kind of S&P inclusion, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I played that S&P inclusion.
Yeah. Well played. So for me, obviously, you can get me on X. I'm posting there quite regularly now, especially around kind of charts and kind of opportunities. YouTube, I've got a video coming out this week on the good, the bad, the ugly of trading. So it's kind of an important kind of psychological video. So if you like those kind of ones, the kind of mental side of trading, then do go ahead and stick over there and give us a subscribe. And of course, the trading community, which I have TTR as well, you can get involved with to kind of see all my trades and kind of see how they're performing, etc. And obviously kind of breaking down the analysis side of things as well. So that concludes the slideshow portion of this live stream. We're going to jump into the charts as well. So if you do want some charts looked at, we've had quite a few requests already. But if you do want some charts looked at, then do stick them in the comments below.
Did you get any requests apart from the one that I see on the chats over here?
No, we've had a few ones from Raymond. Are you seeing those as well?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
we've got some there, but nothing else.
Do you want to start off with Tesla and then we can go through Adobe, Sonal's, and Raymond's request?
Yeah, I'm sure we've got a few words on Tesla, that's for sure. Let's get that up, and then we'll get the chart up as well. Bear with us. There we go. Sweet. This is Tesla chart on the daily. Do you want to kick it off? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think on the Tesla is a very, very pivotal time, and maybe this was all set up to begin with, because I think the going to Robotaxi, I think before I was much more confident that we will hit 400 when we were around the 360 365 range, because then the Robotaxi event would fuel the excitement, but I did not expect this massive pullback that we had from 365. So now the 400 looks unlikely. Not that it cannot happen, but it's going to be a tough one on the 400. I would say if you are an option seller, listen, if we have a run up right after the report of Robotaxi launch, I think you should sell up covered calls at that point in time. You could also look at selling some cash secured puts around the, I would say, 250, 240, something like that you could go out couple months out, so that you have some leverage in case even if the stock falls below that. 215 has been a support. So that's what I'm thinking from an option selling standpoint on this one.
So from a share standpoint, I'm not too. I've kind of gone off Tesla at the moment because it's just so unpredictable. It always has been, to be fair, but at the moment,
maybe a lot more.
Yeah, I'm focusing a bit more on kind of more stable plays at the moment, especially for long-term portfolio. But I don't know where to begin. I mean, holding this 300 level would be a good start. We had obviously a very scary day on Thursday with all the news that came out, and a bit more of a doji type day on Friday. But if we can climb back above 300, there's no reason why this can't just grind back up to kind of 350, maybe kind of 340 area. So there is definitely a trade there, and that's what, over 10%, which is very, very viable. Stop loss wise, though, that's the thing. This is where I get pretty stuck with it. I just wouldn't know where to put a stop loss. Now, of course, the safest part would be to put it down below this bottom here, kind of at 273. But that's a 10% stop loss. I'm not really into that with Tesla because it can just snap like that in a day. Other stocks, I like to have a 10% stop loss. I don't mind that. That's not a problem, depending on how much size I'm putting on, of course. But yeah, maybe you could dive down into smaller time frames, maybe kind of the 2-hour chart. Even here, you wouldn't be able to go long on this just because of the amount of resistance up ahead. So I think for now, I'd stay away from the shares trading side of things, but I do believe options could be the way, as Kaye mentioned. Yeah, that's my
thought. I mean, one thing I will recommend: don't play Iron Condor on Tesla.
No, God, no.
That you will burn you'll lose money on that.
Even I could tell you that.
Exactly. I mean, you would rather pick a direction, have a directional bias on Tesla rather than playing safe on an Iron Condor. This will burn your hand.
For sure. And yeah, I mean, the whole kind of conundrum what's going on between them as well. I mean, it's only going to make it worse and harder to trade.
Yeah, but you never know. From a trading standpoint, something might just happen. Hey, they come and say, hey, we were just joking, we are friends. And the stock market is so irrational, it will run.
Yeah.
You will have 20%, 15% up day on one day right after that news. So that's the problem with these kind of event-driven stocks.
I don't personally see that happening, though. So.
No, I see what you're saying, but I'm saying if you just need to have an event that happens and the stock could move.
Yeah.
Now you do have an event, which is the Robotaxi launch, and I feel like the stock might run. Now it could be buy the rumor, sell the news event. That's what I was hoping initially, that it would go up to 400 and we will have some kind of stall, or it will start chopping, and then we will realize how underwhelming the launch would be. I mean, you're launching 10 cars. Unless he was launching like 5,000 cars in Austin, you're launching 10 cars. It's not available to the public. It's only invite only. And seems like it's not the true the two-seater car that they showed off last year. It's going to be Model Y. I'm assuming they have more news. We'll probably see whether it's they are living up to the hype or not. So, but anyways, from a trading standpoint, if we could run up to 400, that would be the ideal time to sell a lot of calls. You would really bank from the IV. That could still happen, but it might not happen at 400 level anymore.
Awesome. Good words on Tesla there. I think it's an interesting stock to watch. I've marked it there with the highlighter where we are this week. Maybe next week we could be some different range. So it'd be interesting to see how far they go. What's next, okay?
So next is Adobe. That's they are reporting earnings and
Thursday.
Yeah. Also, let me just give you a couple tidbits on the earnings. So Adobe stock moves about 31%. So basically, the options market, they overestimate Adobe move about 31% of the times. Their actual move would be around 8.6% plus minus. So that's something to keep in mind. And let's look at the.
So from here, that would be either 366 or
So let's say 9%, like is a 8.59%. Let's just round it off. You have 19 down revision on the EPS, so that's going to play some role. Because that kind of shows that you have a mixed reaction. They don't have like a super clean record of not missing. They have missed their revenue a few times. They have come in line with their EPS. So we can't say for sure that they will not miss.
It's a tricky one. I mean, to trade, sorry, obviously probably going to hit their earnings, but to trade this for where it is now, it's a huge risk because you've got a gap fill above and another gap fill above as well. So you've got something to aim for if it is positive. But we could easily go and fill this gap fill before earnings because the anticipation around the kind of results and stuff, et cetera, et cetera. But where we go from that point, it'd be very, very tricky given the potential guidance. But I mean, if you're in a position,
what was driving the stock? The driving factor of any SaaS stock is all about AI.
yes.
Right? Most of and Adobe was at the forefront especially when talking about the image generation and things, because hey, they have Photoshop, they have all those different type of products that AI would be playing a big role. I think over the last 2 years we have figured it out that the adoption has really not been as much as it was marketed. Like enterprise would really be buying and spending a lot of money because hey, those things are expensive, and companies are still in a mode of cost cutting. It's not like the free money is available and you're just buying stuff.
This is the weekly chart, and it seems to be respecting the 50 the 20 moving average, which is the orange line flowing through the screen there, using it as support last week. So maybe there is a little bit of hope there.
Let me ask you this, what is the green line? Is that like the 50-day or what?
That's
what
the
is
200. Yeah, changing my colors, Kaye. Sorry.
Okay.
200 is the green line, so the most steady one, the kind of flattish one.
And is that like 8.6% from the current spot?
It's a bit higher than that. Yeah, so
Okay.
it's about
10 higher.
12%.
So one of the trade that you could take, this is going to be a directional bias. So I'm assuming it's not going to break that 200 day, because for it to break, something has to be transformational coming out of Adobe. So I could do a credit spread on the call side that it will not break that. You could take that trade. It's a directional bias. That's the problem, right? So if it breaks, then you lose money.
And to find out if Kaye does take that trade or not, you have to follow him on X and Substack, etc.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's it for Adobe. Should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, next is UAL.
UAL.
United
Airlines. Wow.
Airlines.
Oh, this one seems to be doing quite well. This is the weekly chart, to be fair. But look at that move here from August of last year to the end of the year. That's incredible. It's over 100%.
And it has a buy rating from Wall Street, and things are looking pretty green. I mean, year to date, they're still down 13%, but
But they moved 200% last year, so that's not too bad.
oh my God, yeah.
But yeah, things are looking good. Very positive chart. I do like this chart, and I do like it to break where we've got. So whoever brought this one up?
It was Raymond.
Raymond, once again, it comes back every now and then. We love to see it, but I do like the break of this 82.60-ish level. Very strong day on Friday. Perhaps we can make some more recent highs to break that level. Where could that possibly be going? Maybe 95. So you're looking at about 15% there. So that'd be quite nice to see if we can get that. I think it's 15%.
And I think from an option selling standpoint, I mean, 79 is also a 200-day SMA. So you could sell a put if, in this range.
I quite like this chart. It's very similar to the IWM chart with the kind of head and shoulders that we spoke about earlier on in the stream.
I mean, I might add this into my. Let me update this on my chart side.
There's the head and shoulders, so we can see the potential move straight back up to kind of 95-ish. I really like this one, actually. That's probably why Raymond has brought this one up. But I thank you for that one. I'll definitely.
Well, this definitely looks. This definitely looks like a good option. You can do a wheel strategy on this one for now, and it gives you decent premium. It's not like the IV is so crazy out. It's like decent 40-50% IV, so you get decent premium without the risk of breakout or breakdown.
Look at that gap in volume as well. So you've got lots of volume here.
Exactly.
Nothing here, then loads of volume here. So that's a really big.
So if that breaks, then you could easily see that running up.
Yeah, that could happen in a matter of days. To the kind of the amount of volume that's not there, that could actually happen within a few days. Of course, we've got CPI, PPI, and a constant drama going on the market, so anything could happen. But from a technical point of view, that's good. Yeah.
Okay, next is UNH. Let's see.
See how this is doing this week, shall we? This seems to come up every week.
It's chopping along. I think this is a typical. Whenever you have this kind of a massive breakdown, generally it takes a couple quarters for things to, I guess, get fixed. It seems like that they have found this level of the 300 as a good block. I mean, if you like it, you could sell weekly options on this. But it has to be weekly, very tight, right? You're basically buying at the money, selling at the money, and you're basically profiting on the premium that you're collecting. That's one way you could play this.
I could see something more on the share side, but I think it's more short term. So you've got the gap fill here around 378, and then the obviously most recent low about 250. So let's dive into the hourly chart, for example, and you can probably see a bit of a tightening up within the stock price. So you've got the two lines there, as I've just mentioned, those two levels. Let's draw a couple more lines while we're here. So maybe from this sort of area to there, and then again like that. So you've got a clear, basically it's not a wedge as such, but it is tightening up for a particular move in a direction. Whether we get a bit of a rebound here and come back down lower, that's yet to be seen. But I like this tightening up. And there was something we brought up here when Nate was around on the streams, and it was ATR, which is average true range, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Something like that, yeah. He used the ATR a lot.
And the ATR basically would say, obviously, the range given in the day would be obviously quite big here, then it'll get tighter here, so it could kind of come down. So that graph would eventually come down. I can't add it because I've got my limit of indicators, so it would take a while to kind of mess that up. But it normally coils up and comes down and gets geared up for kind of a bigger move. Obviously, I'm not saying it will be as big as 377 because that's well over 20%, maybe almost 30%. But it's definitely something to watch out for on the near term for UNH. And I don't mind it. If I was looking more towards day trading, I'd definitely take this, but I'm more of a swing trading approach at the moment. But
No,
That's my take on
also
the chart.
if you think about it, so swing trading, you're looking from few weeks to maybe 2 months or so, something like that, right?
Yeah,
Your first gap fill is 23%, and your second gap fill is going to be about 90%. So this is probably the most ideal position for folks who already have a UNH position in their portfolio,
yeah,
right? To build on this one, because eventually it will fill this gap. And once they fill, you are up 20% handsomely from
yeah,
this position. Option sellers can take advantage because the IV is also, in the 50-60 range. You could sell weekly options on this one because the stock is pretty much chopping. So you could sell at the money, buy at the money, sell at the money. If you don't like the wheel strategy, you can just buy out the 100 shares and run a contract at the money, and you'll make like $400-$500 for the week.
yeah. I like your take on the fact that you can have a bit more of a swing trading approach to it, or at least longer term approach to it
Yeah,
than what I was thinking.
like a position trade basically.
Yeah,
You can, so let's say you can't afford to buy 100 shares. Let's take that because you can only buy like 25 shares. I mean, you buy it and you hope for the gap fill to happen at 23%, and you can take some partial profits at that time.
what's the percentage of XLV of UNH?
XLV, let's see. I will
Because I
tell you.
believe it's quite high. Because you could, if you didn't want the kind of erratic nature of this particular stock, you could probably take a position in that ETF, the healthcare ETF.
5.63%.
Yeah, it's not big enough. I think it's not big
It's not
enough.
big enough. I mean, the big one is Eli Lilly on XLV.
Yeah.
This is more, but the problem is that it's really going to be a position trade. You don't know if it's going to recover next month. It's going to take 2 quarters, 3 quarters. You could sit here and we can come back on June 8th of 2026 and we would still be chopping at these levels. That's the problem. We don't know, but it will take a couple quarters before things will change. But again, it's healthcare. It will fill the gap.
Awesome. Wow. Guess it takes. Got my words all mixed up. Let's see how long it takes to do that, shall we?
Next is Microsoft, MSFT.
Microsoft.
Oh
Okay.
man, it's been climbing like a.
It's doing really well.
Oh my god, is this like all-time high, right?
I'm gonna let you talk to this because I'm just wondering why we're not getting any comments
Pullback
through
on
on the
Microsoft.
YouTube.
I don't know. I mean, I thought Microsoft. I mean, we had this big, massive gap up from what 394 going all the way to 430, right? I mean,
Wow. Yeah.
it's
Big gap.
all-time highs at this point in time. I'm not buying it at these levels.
No, we mentioned that last week as well, didn't we? How we're not really buying at these levels. Just reap the rewards if you've got it already. Would you sell at these levels? I'm still not sure. I probably still wouldn't sell.
If it's in a long term, so there are ways to think about it, right? Do you buy, do you sell? The question really comes down to, okay, is it your long term portfolio or is it your short term trading portfolio? If it's your long term portfolio, then why would you sell at all time? I just keep, unless you need the money, number one. And if it's your trading and you are already setting up 50%, then I will trim and I will take some profit.
You can also use it for rebalancing as well, couldn't you?
Yeah.
So if you're particularly high on this position, but maybe not so much as in video, you might be able to take some profits and put it into video, that kind of thing, as an example, not a suggestion.
Yeah.
So rebalancing is kind of what I do. If a particular stock is running in my portfolio, that's what I'll do is I'll trim that down and add it to maybe a lesser so stock or something new that I want to add to the portfolio. And I'm sure lots of different traders and investors do that as well. But it's just worth remembering if you're in this position going forward. But yeah, not really much to say on Microsoft here, apart from the fact it's at all-time highs and congratulations.
Not the best time to begin or start a position.
No.
Awesome. Next up is GE. I haven't seen this name in a while.
Apparently this one's doing quite well as well. Yeah, I saw this earlier in the week on X, thinking, wow.
Wow, it's like a rocket going up.
Literally, yeah. It literally says GE Aerospace as well. So it's there. I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks of straight upwards.
Wow.
So you could call it 9 weeks if you take that one out. But
And
again, would you be buying it here? Probably
no,
not.
no. I mean, it might not be its all-time high, but it's pretty high.
So you've got on the MACD as well, potential crossover on the downside. Obviously, these white bars here are kind of diminishing as well, so they might turn a bit more into kind of negative price action. And the RSI is powering higher at 84. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't be buying at these levels. Raymond adds here, those are all stocks I'm waiting for a pullback. I mean, that's fair enough.
Yeah, makes a lot more sense. I think for
I do,
Microsoft, it's very clear that that gap fill is the point where probably you would add.
and that's what I was going to ask Raymond Sackler actually. Where do you add for the long term? Do you add on the 50 moving average, the 200 moving average, gap fills? I'm sure the viewers would like to know what your kind of thoughts are around that. Personally, for me, it's kind of 200 moving average and gap fills, and I know it's probably the same for you as well, Kaye, if not.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely. I think any moving averages, especially if it's coming 200. So I would add a lot more at the 200 and 300-day moving average than opposed to a 100-day, 50-day, or 20-day, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's just more of a longer term trend, isn't it? More than anything. Awesome. Right, what's the next one?
It's RBRK.
Rubric. This is
Oh, you know this one?
semiconductor stock, I believe. I was in it for a while. In fact, I hate it when this happens. You see a stock that you were in, and then obviously the stop loss triggered. I think, do you know what? I think it was this move here. It must have been. I've got it in somewhere here, and obviously I put the stop loss below this recent low. It's triggered, and then just done that ever since. Well, you know, that's how trading goes, isn't it? It's doubled since then, which is really nice. Nice. That's how it goes, Kaye.
Hey, listen. I mean, I think Raymond brought up some very good tickers for the audience here also, and I think
on the screen there.
Exactly, and I think a lot of these stickers gives you some ideas on what to do when a pullback happens, and what can you see. I mean,
So the pullback level for me here would be very simply this kind of resistance level around 75.60, which I guess by the time that happens, the 200 moving average won't be too far off. So you've got a bit of confidence there and probably a lot of volume on that side as well. Not perfectly around 75. It could be around 75.80, or even a bit lower, maybe 72, where most of the volume that comes in there around here. So yeah, there's definitely a range that I'd like to buy for the longer term, but it's not a stock that I look at clearly because I've missed out on that run. But if you are into this stock, that's kind of my perspective on where to
add. The next one is Roblox. Similar, same pattern.
So Raymond came back and said, yeah, I might start at the 50 and 100 and add at the 200.
Yeah.
So similar sort of things to what we said. Add more in the bigger time frame, bigger moving averages.
Exactly.
Thank you for that feedback there. That comments there, Raymond. What's next, you say?
Roblox, RBLX.
Roblox. See, this one, again, has taken off massively. It's brought up a lot of these stocks. I don't really know what Roblox is. I think it's more of
it's a video game. They make those games for the kids, no? Roblox.
Okay, so I can understand why that's popular. Yeah. Doing really well by the looks of it. Incredible. RSI is currently sitting at 89.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Perhaps you could short it here if you're feeling a little bit risky. $100 here is a psychological level for a lot of stocks, not just Roblox. So perhaps you could set a limit sell order there. It's risky, but it's possible.
The funny part, sorry to interrupt you on this one. The funny part is in October, they created a gap up.
In where? October. So about
you're on the daily, right? And they have not filled that gap. So as you can see, the theory stands that not all gaps get filled right away, right? You have another October almost here, like this June to July, August, September. 4 months you will have complete a whole year, and they haven't filled the gap.
That's crazy, isn't it? I mean,
that's gonna be a spectacular fall, though. If it's,
I was gonna say, it doesn't mean to say they won't fill that gap. I mean, we've seen the likes of Netflix over the years drop like 40, 50%.
Yeah,
And then
take
obviously they've
Lululemon.
recovered since.
Why even go for old stories? Take Lululemon. If you go to a Lululemon chart, you will see they still have those gaps, and they created another new gap downs. So with this 15% drop that we had, that's a gap down. It's going to take time for them to fill.
Exactly. Speaking
Oh.
of gaps, DG.
Well, I think for Roblox, I would love to get the stock in the 50s again.
For sure. Dollar General. But we'll use this as the last stock of the day. Dollar General. Raymond brought up the fact that, speaking of gaps, Dollar General, yes, we've obviously just had a gap up. And it looks like we're making our way to filling this gap at 122 area. I don't trade this one. Do you trade this one?
No.
No, there's not really much to add then for this one.
But bottom line is, as you can see, it's a very interesting chart for the gap ups and gap downs. It's like a this stock is just meant for gap ups and gap downs.
To be fair, that's nice. This bit
and
here.
This has been a trend mostly starting off 2023. Like before, it wasn't as crazy. Like there were gaps, but it wasn't like this crazy. But if you notice from 2023 onwards, the amount of gap ups and gap downs.
I think this one could keep going to the gap fill at 122. For sure. Look at the longer term trend. We've got the weekly chart here up on the screen, the big trend line break in the last 5-6 weeks. Obviously, with the market being the way the market's been, it's probably helped. But it's used it as a lot of support on the 50-moving average there, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, and I think that the outcome of China and US trade talk will kind of direct the direction for this stock as well.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. For that's all the tickers that we've got time for today. We do really appreciate all of them coming through. Obviously, Raymond did actually put quite a few in, so we did thank you there for Raymond. I'm sure the viewers, whether they're watching now or a little bit later on, will take a lot of value from the names that we've spoke about today, whether it be on the options side or the shares trading side. I'm sure we can get a lot of value out of that. I think it's been a really good session this week. Obviously, massive thank you to Wolf again for let's use the platform. Almost 3,000 viewers today, which is a really big number, and we really appreciate every single one of you tuning in every single week. And obviously, same time next week, 1 p.m. Eastern time, if anything else happens, of course. We'll see then. Anything to add there, Kaye?
No, you just covered it very nicely. So we wrap it up over here. Wish everybody a beautiful Sunday. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Yeah, take care, everyone. Trade safe. Be careful out there. It's going to be a choppy week. We'll see you next week. Take care.
Take care.